Is there something that you feel you need to chase? I bet you thought you'd put me in my place. 'Cause I know it's true, I'm finally getting to you. We're not through. I know it's true, I'm finally getting to you. Yeah, I know it's true, I'm finally getting to you. We're not through. Yeah, I know it's true, I'm finally getting to you. You can run, you can hide, but inside, I'm finally getting to you. Yes, it's true. I still love you, but I am getting to you.
Stand by to initiate release sequencer. On my mark. 5,
We're on express elevator to hell. Going down.
2, 1. Mark.
Welcome back to the Resupply with just me, guy next door. Bringing you your semi-regular double tap of all things Space Marines and Laser Force. Good morning, everyone. I hope everyone's doing good. Auntie 2, thank you very much for the follow. I saw that pop up just before we went live. Really appreciate it. Just you and everything comes through shit. What's shit? What's going on? Is the mic not working? You're freaking me out, Andrew. What's going on? That's all good. That's all good. So yeah, welcome to the show for this morning. As I discussed, or as I put out on Facebook, it's just me today. Well, it's just me for the first little bit anyway. The boys are both being responsible family men and living up to what they should be doing on the weekends, which is hanging out with their families. So what I've done is whilst the adults are out of the room, shenanigans are afoot. It's always your fault, you know this. It sometimes is. So we got a bit of a show today. We have a couple of fill-ins, last minute fill-ins, because if there's anything that we do really well here, it's not being prepared. That's what we do really well. Last minute special guest is kind of a thing that happens. So you were sounding very staticky like a robot. I mean, I need to get a voice changer for D&D. Gray's actually got one, and it sounds friggin' awesome. We'll take care of some housekeeping stuff first, and then we'll get into the show. The very first thing, and I see that he's popped up in chat over there, right there, that guy there. Massive happy birthday to you, Sol. I haven't messaged you already yet today, but I did see it's your birthday, so happy birthday to you. Massive happy birthday to Heathen. I think it was your birthday earlier in the week. And a big old happy birthday to Thunder for tomorrow, but today in New Zealand. So happy birthday from the future. So make sure you go and celebrate with some Laser Force however you can. Because I'm pretty sure you guys in New South Wales are still able to play, I assume. Not like those Southerners, those Victorians locked in their houses. The other thing I want to talk about was, actually, yeah, can we have some birthday Reggies? If you've got them, chuck up some birthday Reggies in chat. That'd be super awesome. The other thing I want to talk about, if for anyone that's ordered merch, this guy right here, production is underway. You're on the way to Hunter Valley for some wine tasting, chocolate, and cheese. What are you, an adult? go play some laser tag, you wussy. Anyone that ordered any merch, production is underway. They will be done next week, so we'll have them in time for basically New Zealand-based peeps. If you didn't order, shame on you. No. If what I meant to say was, if you ordered and you're overseas, it'll take a little while to get there. I'll try and send those out basically as soon as I get them. If it's not before the tournament, it'll be a couple days after. So expect your merch to arrive in 2022, based on how overseas couriers have been gone. What was the other thing? I think that's pretty much it in terms of the housekeeping. I hope everyone's had a good week. I'm going to bring on our first guest. So, he's someone that's been around the scene. Well, he's like, what's the best way to describe him? He was on the scene, a prominent figure on the scene many years ago. But he's recently gotten contact, partially. I mean, the timing kind of worked out well because obviously we decided to put on this tournament and he's decided that he's going to come up and play it. I'll bring him on. Bear with me 2 seconds. Please welcome to the show, Stallion. Hey, man. Ooh, there's a right click. There we go. Can you hear us? Can we hear you?
I hope you can hear me.
We can hear you. Excellent. We're off to a flying start. How are you, man?
Yeah, pretty good.
How's the weather? How's the weather in windy Wellington?
It's overcast today. I just went out, did about 20 minutes of gardening to squeeze that in before coming back in.
Some pre-show gardening is something I never ever want to do myself. I fucking hate gardening so much. So we've been talking. We you look old as fuck. Still sound the same. I mean, that's something that runs through the tournament scene, I think. Obviously, you're a Wellington-based player.
Born and bred, man.
Born and bred. And we met a long time ago. I think I was fresh-faced in the scene. You'd been playing for a while, but do you wanna just tell us a little bit about, kind of when you played and who you kind of remember and that sort of stuff?
Yeah, sure, man. As to who I remember, I watched the podcast the other week where you guys ran through 3 teams of the best ever.
Yeah.
To be honest, about 70%, I think, of those players I directly played with or against. So I was like, wow, this is a small world still, huh? So, I mean, the Lasers site opened in Wellington, and I think it was very late 95.
Yeah.
So I think it was very late 95, and I think it was very early 96 that I started. And Wellington was like the 3rd country Laser Force was in, and we were the first site.
Yeah.
And the 2nd country, I'm pretty sure from memory, was Indonesia, and I'm not sure if they've got. I'm not sure. Yeah, the one opened in Jakarta, and so
wow.
you know how site country site works, right? So 2-1 was Jakarta,
right,
and 1 was Wellington, and I don't know what happened to Jakarta. So anyway, we're quite new in terms of Laser Force outside of Brisbane, and of course I had no idea about any of this, and we just kind of did our shit and played, and it was, and I was at uni at the time, and I signed up for the local uni internet account, so you got like an email address
Yeah.
for the first time ever, and you got like this tiny little place where you could put a web page.
Yeah.
I'm like, this is the shit, and I banged out by myself how to play Laser Force page.
That's awesome.
And this was like up on the internet in like mid 96.
Yeah.
And
The internet,
like,
I'm pretty sure, was brand new
well,
in like 96. Like brand new here.
World Wide Web was only invented by Tim Berners-Lee in I think 92.
Yeah.
So this was like only scant years after that, and so like this tiny little page got eventually indexed by search engines, and like, so yeah, and I went through like, and I didn't know anything about anything, so all I talked about was the standard game, and I'm like, I'm just going to tell people how to play Laser Force Standard, and I like listed all 6 abilities.
Yeah.
And, this is lost in the mists of time, by the way. I don't think I have a copy of it anywhere, but I remember really clearly. I described the ability, I described what it was called, how you got it, what was it, and then at the bottom, I had Stallion's tip.
Just the tip, though.
So,
Only
anyway,
the tip.
So that existed,
Yeah.
and for a couple of years, and eventually, Than stumbled across it from the US,
Yeah.
and I can't remember. I think emailed me somehow, or I think it was email, and yeah, we just got connected, and he like started talking about, do you know there's a Laser Force tournament in Newcastle in '99, and I was like, no, but I'm like, Newcastle was just over there.
Yeah.
So, and I had a cousin living in Newcastle who was a dentist.
Yeah.
And so, like, I just was like, man, can I crash at your place for a couple of nights?
Yeah.
And he was like, sweet as. And yeah, long story short, I came over.
Yeah.
I brought another Kiwi player with me, codename of Truth. He's still a good friend. He comes over and plays D&D fortnightly in my lounge. And yeah, so the 2 of us went over, and unfortunately we had because Than didn't really know everything about the tournament, and I was getting all my information through Than. We turned up for the Masters, but my flights were booked halfway through the SM5 competition to return.
Yeah.
And this was 99, so flexi fares were like, and I was poor back then. Not to say that I'm not poor now, but you know, really.
Less poor.
Yeah. Unfortunately, and like I got merked into the Ballarat team because they were short.
Oh, really?
Yeah. So I
you played with like Craig and not Craig. I think his codename was Wasp at the time.
Don't remember Wasp. I played. It was Susie, Georgie, the 2 girls from Ballarat.
Yeah.
And
I remember Susie.
I can't remember anyone
else.
Because me and Susie were the resupply, so we hung out all the time. In that little, like, it was a hut that was lit in the corner of the Newcastle maze. It was literally like, it kind of looked like a hut.
Yeah.
There were like only 2 ways in, and that was one of the main resupply areas. So we hung out there. But yeah, unfortunately, I had to bug out halfway through SM5 because I didn't have complete information.
Yeah.
When I booked my flights, and so had to
cruise home early.
I was like, oh man, I so want to stay, but I don't.
So that was your first like nationals taste, yeah?
Yeah, and like the hubris that I had at the time, I wrote a press release and sent it out to every media organization that I can think of.
Yeah.
And TV1 bit, and there ran after the news in the after weather human interest spot, a 90-second clip introduced by Judy Bailey on
who's New Zealand royalty
going to Australia to play Laser Force.
That's awesome.
So that was pretty cool.
That must be. I think that's a Wellington thing. Like, because I've over the years I've seen a bunch of like different press pieces, newspaper articles, a couple of TV spots, and and it was always like Wellington players. Like I saw a couple from the Howe brothers, like both Rusty and Baden, I think, were put in the media. I believe I remember seeing a photo. I think it was talking about you guys coming up to Auckland to play. And I think I remember seeing a photo from that article. I don't know. These were back when the boards were around and the forums were around.
Yeah.
So.
Well, we did like the following year, 2000.
Yeah.
When I took a full team over to Melbourne.
Yeah.
I did exactly the same thing.
Yeah.
And didn't get any TV coverage, but nothing ventured, nothing gained, right?
Yeah, for sure.
But we did get the local newspaper doing a brief story, and 4 out of the 6 of us got down to lasers and put up suits and got a picture taken outside. Rusty was in that picture.
I think that's the picture I remember. Do you remember who else was in that?
We're all standing in the parking lot.
Yeah. Look at these hardcore dudes.
Yeah, man. I mean, so yeah. I mean, that was pretty crazy. I mean, taking the full team over.
What year was that?
2000. And
right.
Like Rusty and Deadly were like, they were teenagers, man.
Yeah.
Like, I can't remember how old, maybe 16, 17.
Yeah.
And I'm like, I think I was 24 at the time.
Yeah.
So I'm like, I'm responsible for these kids, man. And we billeted at Night Owls, and so like there was 6 of us just lined up in his lounge on sleeping bags and shit. So
it's so funny because like my journey mirrors that exactly, like 3 years later when they hosted again. Like Al, but I didn't stay with Al that year. I stayed with him like I think like 2005 or no, not 2005. 7, I think. I don't know. I stayed at Al's a bunch of times. But yeah, it's always like a bunch of you on the floor at Al's place. All of you are like really young, except like whoever's supposed to be looking after you. I made contact with some of the other Wellington players in preparation for this tournament that we've got coming up, to see if I could try and get them up here. But as is the case, most people have families and stuff now, and have kind of left lasers in the past because they grew up or grew out of it or whatever, and just some of us have a real hard time just letting go. So clinging on to our youth. Duckman in chat said Novus and Fig Jam. He thinks
sounds familiar.
Yeah.
Like, it was a long time ago. And I see Traj says he had to take over.
Yeah.
And I think I did know that as well.
Yeah.
But yeah,
that's really funny.
That was some great stuff, man. 99. I really enjoyed that.
Yeah, it was before my time. It seems like we were talking about it with the boys today. Like there's certain like there's time frames of like of different scenes over the years, and we might talk about that in a different episode. But so
I'll just cut in with one more thing though.
Yeah.
You know how sometimes a series of events happens and it just seems preordained.
Yeah.
And it's like I was meant to be here.
Yeah.
So I arrived at Newcastle in '99, and I made my way to the lasers, and I walked in there and I was like, "Hey, how's it going? I'm here for the tournament, yada yada." And the employee at the time, whose name is lost in the mist of time to me, was like, "Awesome, man, awesome. Do you want to have a look around?" And I'm like, "Sure." So like it was like late on a Sunday afternoon, I think, so there wasn't much happening. And I walked in the armory, and I turned to my right, and the very, very first suit I saw.
That's awesome.
And I'm like, I need to be here, man.
That's dope that you still have that.
Well, what happened was Newcastle shut down like 3 or 4 years later.
Yeah.
And that same guy got in touch with me and said, "Do you want the chest plate of the Stallion suit pack?" And you know that there's only one answer possible to that.
Hell
right?
yes.
And like a week later, this turned up at my house
so awesome.
in packaging, having travelled to Tasman.
Yeah.
And it sits on my shelf because that's too cool not to have, man.
That's so awesome that somebody would reach out and be like, "Hey, like I know that this is probably going to mean so much do you want it?
Yeah,
Because otherwise that shit gets trashed or whatever, man, and it just gets lost.
Yeah, because like they shut down, and it was all being either flogged for spears or thrown away, and it's just like, this guy, me, would probably really appreciate that, and like I wish I thanked him profusely at the time, obviously, but I still think, like, I can't even remember his name. It's like he did that.
That's so awesome. I was always like, I always had mixed feelings about having, like, I always was like, I really want a suit with my name on it. This is obviously before Gen 8, and it's a thing now. But then I was like, but my code name is so, like, dumb and unique that, like, nobody, they're like, what the fuck is Guy Next Door? We don't want that shit. You have your own, mate. I should have come up with a cooler sounding name. Ben, yes, you are very young, and we'll say it aloud. He was not even born in '99. Kids.
So I see Servants just asked about cases today. I just looked it up, and the answer is no community cases, one managed isolation case in New Zealand.
Good work, New Zealand.
So level 2 down to level 1 is still on for Kiwiland.
Yeah, I'm looking forward to it because it opens up so much possibility with Trans-Tasman stuff, and we were talking about prior to, like, well, COVID stuff. I was like, man, Grab a Seat does fairly cheap flights. Like, I wonder if I could organize a team to, like, fly to Melbourne and we play over there, and then all the COVID stuff happens. But I know that the Oakley boys are kind of itching to get over. So as soon as that bubble opens up, I think we should do another triple threat. So when was kind of the last, what was kind of the last tournament you played in?
The last main tournament I played in was Sacramento 2004.
Right.
So yeah, there wasn't a big tournament in Australasia.
That was kind of a hangover from all the drama that kind of came out of the Oakley 2003 Nats,
which I feel somewhat responsible for.
Look, I was there. It was my first tournament, but I do remember there was, three referees in the maze for the finals because every single other person got vetoed. And I think was it you, Susie, and maybe Tachyon, I think, were the only 3 referees in the maze.
Hurricane from Auckland there as well?
No, it was Tachyon from Auckland.
Who was the Auckland captain that year? Because Hurricane is the name that's in my head.
So Hurricane used to work. He worked at Auckland for a long time, and he obviously played as well. So he was around the scene for a while. You would have met him a bunch. Tachyon was, I think, by default the captain, just because he was the second oldest guy with us, other than Trev, who was kind of like the dad of our site. Oh, Disco Stu with the sub. Look at the fancy lights go. Whoop, whoop. Thank you, Stu. That's awesome. I appreciate it. Yeah, so I think it was the 3 of you guys. That's what I remember anyway.
Yeah.
And then all of the drama ensued. So
it was covered in a podcast only 2 weeks ago. So on now. So to finish your question, so came back from 2004, and just a couple of things happened that I'm really not going to go into, and I kind of fell out with the community.
Yeah.
And almost concurrently with that, I picked up a 6-month trespass from Wellington Laser Force.
Oh fuck.
So
that'll kill it.
It was a bit on the nose.
Yeah.
But they legally trespassed me, and just to explain that really quick, because I know that's a big hanging thing. So I read about a way of playing Space Marines 5 whereby you mix up the classes and you put a bunch of names into a hat and you pull a name out, and that person is the traitor. So I think it's literally like medic, ammo, and a shitload of scouts or something like that.
Right.
And one of the scouts is a traitor.
Right.
And their job is to kill their own medic without the rest of the team realizing that they're the traitor.
I think I remember this.
Yeah.
Yeah.
So it's a game that everyone who's in the game needs to understand the rules and what we're doing, right? And I had set it up and we were running it and we're in the game and Rusty turned up at the center and the center employee swiped him into the game.
Oh, and he didn't know what was going
on.
on.
And I'm like, no, you can't do this. We're playing a very special set of rules that relies on the extra information at the start of the game.
Yeah.
And of course, I exited the maze and the center employee had buggered off. So I'm like, fuck that. And I entered the employee area and I killed Rusty's suit out of the game.
Right.
And I re-entered the arena.
Yeah.
And then a minute later, Rusty comes back in the arena with an active suit. I'm like, what? And I went out and the employee had fucked off again. And so I killed his suit a second time. And long story short, they went, players are not allowed to enter the employee area and manipulate the computer, have a 6-month ban. And I'm like,
wow.
But you were screwing up our game.
Yeah.
And that meant nothing to them. And so I got a 6-month ban, and that plus a few other bits meant I fell out of the community.
Yeah.
And there was a bit of bad blood floating around. I mean, because like another thing I think partially contributed to this was in 2002 when we were in Auckland. It was the first time that Wellington had availability of more than 6 players.
Right.
We had 7 players who were like, I want to go, I want to come, I want to play. And as the person who was, the captain, because I dragged all these people into the scene almost by myself, I made the call on who was going to miss out.
Right.
And the missed out player traveled to Auckland anyway.
Yeah.
Sorted their own accommodation, their own thing, and hung out all week. And I never played them because I made it clear that we're a team of 6. And if someone gets injured, I guess sure. But otherwise, I'm sorry, man. And so after I came back from that 6-month ban, he had become more influential.
Yeah.
And he kind of gave me the super cold shoulder.
Right.
And the last thing really was leading up to 2005 tournament. I was like, look, I would like to play. I know I haven't played like much in the center. I would like to play in 2005 if you'll have me.
Yeah.
I'm happy to play in any capacity. I'm not expecting to be captain. Put me as medic. I don't care. I want to play.
Yeah.
And they're like, nah, we don't need you.
Right.
We're good. And I kind of went, it seems that for the best outcome for the community and for my mental health and just well-being, I'm going to walk away.
Yeah.
And so I walked away in 2005 and that was it.
Yeah.
And and like I took up fencing for like 6 months because like, I lived really close to the university, Victoria University, and I'm like, well, I'm not doing lasers, so I need to do something for my fencing.
Yeah,
sorry, my fitness.
Your fitness, yeah.
And
might as well be a swashbuckler.
I'm like, fuck it, look, the fencing, I'll hit people with swords, sure.
I mean, that's as obscure as laser tag, to be fair.
Yeah, kind of. Well, fencing is an Olympic sport.
Oh, yeah. Yeah, it's well, we're just biding our time, So I see Baden's in the chat. He said 6-month ban. That's cute. I was gonna say, by the sounds of it and by my conversations that I've had with Baden, Wellington ownership very much enjoyed throwing out bans.
Shit, yeah. They love to have the system where they would put an asterisk after your code name.
I heard about the asterisks.
Yeah, like you're on a warning button.
Yeah.
And I remember picking up an asterisk, and for the life of me, this many years later, I cannot remember why. But they were so like they fought us hard.
Yeah.
Like and here's an example that absolutely typifies the Wellington Laser Force management at the time.
Yeah. So
this was prior to going to Nats, right? For the first time. So this was maybe 97, 98. So there were a decent number of players who clearly were interested in lasers and interested in pushing lasers and playing the more interesting games and really just, it was our thing. And I'm like, what we need is a members night, and whereby people who want to come in and play special games have like a guaranteed chunk of window where we can just do our stuff. And if you want to play at that time, you have to get with the program.
Yeah.
And, we did all the right things. We picked a night which would counter program all the birthday parties, so I think it was Tuesday. Most stuff is either Monday or Tuesday, right? And, it was in the evening, so like 7 to 10 or whatever. And like, it took months of negotiation for these guys to accept that we could do this.
Yeah.
And like, and finally, got them round. We put posters up and like, here's the thing. And I got them to agree to like a tiered membership.
Yeah.
So like, when you first got a card, it was like a color, and then like when you played like 50 standard games, you got
like
a blue
the orange card or whatever.
Like 250 or whatever it was games, you got like a gold card or something like that. And to incentivize people, let's structure the members night cost to go down $1 or $2 at each of those ranks.
Yeah.
Right? Anyway, to get to the point. At the very first members night, it was great. Everything worked well, yada, yada. It was fantastic. And we're like, see you next week.
Yeah.
And then Laser Force management were like, oh, we've made a booking on that Tuesday. I'm like, are you? And they didn't and like that booking occurred between the two members nights.
Yeah.
And they screwed us so hard right at the start of trying to get this thing off the line.
Yeah.
And like, just with a little bit of management buy-in, you can get people who come back all the time.
Yeah.
You have a members night, you have a league night, and
well, we so it's funny.
And of course, I remember one other thing. Like,
Yeah.
it was literally in the Laser Force manual at the time.
Yeah.
A line that, paraphrasing, is take care of your regular members because from a business perspective, they are the people who will tell you when your equipment is starting to malfunction earlier. Because they are like, this suit is shooting slightly to the right, or that shoulder. Just stay on top of
speakers
your
out, or So we so I remember I think the whole reason why we got a Laser Force in Auckland was because our old owner at the time knew the Wellington Laser Force owners, or so he had a relationship with them. And wow, like all the stuff you just described was all the stuff that seemingly he tried to implement up here. And there's a real disdain that he eventually had for his regular member base. I don't know if it was like that always, but certainly like it started off at a place that was kind of iffy, and then got worse from there, where doing things like I don't mind if so our site now will occasionally get a big booking on a Tuesday. For the most part, they're just like, no, Tuesday is members night. But if they get like a scout group with 100 people who are going to come in and play on a Tuesday, and the Tuesday night's the only night they can do it, we're just like, hell yeah. We don't mind sitting out a week, or we'll go play up the road a game over or whatever, because like that sort of booking is good for everyone. It means that they can stay open another month or whatever.
The thing that really grated my gears at the time was members night lives or dies on the ability to get reoccurring players coming back.
Yeah.
And it was literally, the first one was a success.
Week 2.
Massively fucked up the second iteration.
Yeah.
And it pushed out the frequency. I can't remember if it pushed it out to fortnightly or monthly, but
you can't do a regular, unless it's weekly. People just don't remember.
Exactly. It needs to be weekly. So
it's funny about the asterisk thing, because I haven't thought about that for years, but I remember that becoming a thing. And I think actually Hurricane might have been the one that was like looking after that. I can't remember, but it'd be funny because we got a member who actually now lives in Wellington, and his code name is like 6 asterisks. That's all his code name is. So it'd be pretty funny.
Changed there now, so I don't know if they do the same thing. I'm going there tonight. Actually, there's like a supercharge.
Oh, really?
Yeah.
Awesome.
Well, I need to hold a laser force gun within a few weeks of coming up, right? I mean, you commented the other podcast that you see that I play at Napier like once a year because like I go up with the fam and we camp in the backyard of a friend's place in Havelock North.
Cool.
And like there's literally like 8 to 10 families. And one day on the New Year's period, I'm like, we're going to lasers.
Awesome.
Who's coming? And
Yeah, that's
like,
awesome.
I literally take like maybe a dozen kids and 4 adults, and we just descend on Laser Force Napier, where they do a holiday thing for like $20 for 5 hours, and we're like, we're fucking playing 5 hours.
Rest
you
in
little
peace.
kitty, you're tired? Well, sit down because I'm keeping going.
Yeah. Just wear the suit and come in and just hang about. Like I don't need anything else.
Yeah. So anyway, to Wellington Lasers tonight.
Cool.
So one, it's to work on my fitness a bit, and 2, it's to remember which way to hold the gun. And you'll love this because talking my fitness, I've been doing some actual like runs and shit as well.
Clearly, so have I.
Yeah, because I've been doing nothing for a long time, and like I need to work on my fitness. So
Yeah.
I've got a friend at work who's into running, so I've been running a bit with her.
Yeah.
And she came round to my house the other week and to do a run. And I thought about where in my suburb we should go, and I picked all the main roads, and I'm like, you know, I glanced at a map and went, oh yeah, if we go down that road and go up there, then that's a good run. And I measured it, it's like almost 6K. I'm like, oh yeah, cool. So she got here and we ran out, we did the run. It's dark, so we're like running through the street lights and all that type of stuff. And finished the run, and it was pretty good. I felt pretty decent. And she goes home, and then like a couple of hours later, she messages me. She's like, Alex. I'm like, what? She's like, do you know that our run was in the shape of a penis?
I mean, like, if you gotta do what you gotta do for your fitness, man. I mean, like, if I had a penis route, like that's the route that I would run. Absolutely.
So we came out like this is the one a week later.
That's so good, man.
And now when she comes over, my kids are like, "Are you guys doing the dick run again?"
Back in my day, the dick run was a different thing. Shout out to Mental. Right. So what kind of prompted, like, you know, coming up for this tournament for you? Because we
to be honest, I just kind of sometimes I sit and reflect about, you know, how you like look back on your life and you do the what if business.
Yeah.
And like, you know, my Laser Force cup, my few Laser Force trophies on the chest plate are on the top of a bookshelf in the lounge. And, you know, so that every now and again my eye falls on them. And basically one day I was like, what is happening with Laser Force these days? And so I like hopped on, I did some searches and, you know, searched on Facebook as well and stumbled across the Laser Force tournament page and clicked on it and saw that Nationals was going to be in Auckland in July 2020. And I can't remember when this was. Was this late last year?
Yeah, must have been.
Like I messaged the page administrator or whatever, and that was you. And went, so I'm down in Wellington and I might be interested in attending. What's the deets? Yeah. And like we talked for about 30 seconds, and then you're like, do I fucking know you? And then you're like, are you Stallion?
Yeah.
Like, actually, yes.
Yeah. I remember the response because I was like, fuck. I remember like, I think Stallion's name was Alex. And yeah, I was like, oh, are you Stallion? And your response was, oh, I see you've been on the computer at Laser Force Auckland and looked me up.
Yeah, because I thought you were. I thought you might have been an employee.
No.
I couldn't remember that detail. Yeah.
Yeah, the the second.
Yeah, and so long story short is we just started talking, and that got me like really keen to give it a go again. And you were like, "Look, if you come up, we'll find a merc slot."
Oh,
for you
absolutely, yeah.
And so I'm like, "Fuck it, I'm going."
Yeah, and then obviously,
and the job that I'm a project manager, and it means that effectively within certain constraints, I can set almost my own schedule.
right.
And so I just went like, well, this block in July is booked out. And when you've got like 6 months to plan, that's easy because I just block it out and just plan everything around it.
Yeah.
And yeah, and so I was super keen. Then of course, COVID hit. So every 20 the season 2020 writers, man, are just like throwing curveballs everywhere.
The one that came out this morning or last night, and what a doozy that was.
Well, yeah, but it look, man, it's what always happens with good TV, right? The UK does it first, and then the US does it as well, but it has to do it bigger.
Yeah. Well, so it kind of worked out, like, because obviously we were all pretty down. I think the community as a whole was pretty down that, like, obviously Nationals isn't going ahead. Hopefully it works out that we can play next year. I mean, the realist in me is just like, you just hold off on that, mate. But when we started planning for this one, I was like, I'm pretty sure, like, I'll reach out and see if you'd be keen to actually come up for this one. Because, I mean, especially after, like, we caught up briefly in February. You came up to Auckland to the Tool Show, which was like the start of COVID. Yeah.
I'm so gutted I missed out on a poster. Like, they sold out of posters just before I got to the front of the merch queue. And I'm like, I wanted that poster so hard.
I feel like partially responsible then because, like, had we
not...
Yeah.
Well, not really, because like my other friends were standing in the queue.
Oh, so yeah, that's right.
And my friends were standing in the queue, and when they got parallel to us, I was just like,
yeah, I might as well just jump in the line. But yeah, when this kind of opportunity came up to, like, have this tournament, I was like, well, that's perfect. I'll just see if you want to come up and play this one. And if it goes well, which I don't see why it won't, like, it's kind of a precursor to Nats, which if we host next year. So, or at the very least, because they do like random draw East and West Coast tournaments in the States, and I mean, Nationals for Australasia used to be Australia would come here or we'd go over there, and that was Nats until the regular attendance from Australasia to the States in 2010. I mean, obviously you guys had played over there like on 2 or 3 different occasions, but obviously with mass teams traveling, it's become a more normal thing, which is kind of awesome. But it means that, potentially we can start looking at doing trans-Tasman random draw tournaments or stuff that's not quite as intense as a Nats, but is still highly competitive. So that sort of stuff is where I see this kind of format potentially going. Because if this tournament happens that, like, we've not done before, 3 sites, 3 days, 3 aside, if it works out well, then it's something I would love to implement, but with more people. If we got 30 people or whatever, and made it work somehow. Maybe we do 2 days at each site or something to make it a little more worthwhile. But seeing as it seems like a natural progression, seeing as we're here at the tournament, and we have Greg waiting in the wings. Says the guy not doing all the organizing and scheduling. Well, that seems like a great segue to bring you in, Greg. So, we'll go to a Be Right Back screen. We'll bring Greg in, and we're gonna talk a bit about how the point structure is gonna work for this tournament, because there's been a lot of changes and revisions and stuff, mostly born out of a certain team bitching about how that we'll bring him in, and then we'll continue the discussion from there. So bear with us, folks. We'll be right back. There's 3 of us. Oh, look at all that. Look at all that wrong name tags all over the place.
Wait, what? Hey.
Let me fix that. But yeah, so we thought like we might as well kill 2 birds with 1 stone. There's been like a lot of people like complaining about how you've been doing things, Greg, terribly.
I say we take off
well,
and
nuke
nuke the entire site from orbit.
That scared the shit out of me, Nate. Stupid automation. Hang on, let me just fix these tags up real quick.
Fix the tags.
Fix the tags. But yeah, we had some people bring up some. I think they were probably valid points. Partially after I like did a better job of maybe explaining what the actual issue was. Well, perceived issues. Hang on, ish.
I'm wearing a beanie because it seemed like the thing to do on this podcast.
Yeah, well, someone didn't get the memo. There you go.
I don't own a beanie.
You don't own a beanie?
I don't own a beanie.
Wait, have we? I don't know if did you place an order? I can't remember. You don't have to answer that.
I voted, but I didn't place an order.
You cheap motherfucker. I ordered myself a spare, so if you want this one, if anyone wants a pre-worn G&D smelling beanie, feel free to message me. I'll sell it as like, those vending machines that have stuff in Japan. Anyway, so fuck.
They got wiry, of course.
Oh, so bad. It's only a little moist as well, so if you want it, I'm doing a great job of selling it. There were the used beanies machine. That's right. There were some, I think, discussions that happen around how the point structure is going to work for the tournament, and you thankfully have done a great job at making things
complex.
Yeah. Well, actually, so I was telling Stallion before we started, I was like, okay, so when we were planning Nats, you would come to me and be like, okay, so I think the way we'll do it is we'll do this, and then we could do this, and I'm like, whoa. Chill, Winston. You wanna make things as simple as possible for Nats. And so when this tournament got brought up, I was basically like, bro, go nuts, do whatever. Free reign, make it as complicated as you want. And so with that in mind, and after the revisions have happened, I think you've done quite a good job of finding a good balance. But for any Auckland players or particular Wellington players who are traveling up in a couple of weeks, we figured we'd use this platform as a good place to explain how the final point structure works. I'm just wondering, should I bring up the document so people have it in front of them?
I think it's easy enough just to explain. I don't think you need the specifics of the nitty-gritty.
Okay.
In front of you. The links are all available. It's just a shared Google Drive.
Okay. Well, do you want to take us through? I'm going to bring it up on my... What the hell? I opened up a web page and Than and DK are both staring at me. That was freaky. Do you want to go through the changes or the final kind of structure of how this is all going to shake out in the wash?
Sure. Do you want me to run a brief overview in case people in chat haven't been made familiar with it? So it's a 3-person tournament. It's still a standard SM5 6v6 game, but we've formed 5 teams of 3 for the 15 players who are in the tournament. So within your team of 3, you'll be assigned one of the 4 positions. So we've got red attack, red resupply, green attack, and green resupply. And everyone's got a balance across the whole tournament for what you play. So the attack means you are commander, scout, and resupply means you're a heavy ammo medic. The only caveat is that everyone on your team has to play every role once a day. So, like the person with the lowest salary still has to have a heavy game, they've still got to play a commander game, and they've still got to have an ammo game. So you can't just slot them into medic and scout all day. But I've heard some good feedback on that. Like Morange has said that he's planning to rotate his team through quite consistently. Steve, I'm expecting you to play heavy most of the day when your team are on the resupply role.
We'll see. It's good though because we ran a league. We ran a league a few years back, and that was kind of the largest amount of regulars that we had coming during our like most competitive era. And the one thing that we messed up was not making sure that the newer players got an opportunity to experience the other roles, and it killed members. It just killed our membership base because we played it over like 8 weeks, and people were just like, getting smashed every week because they were single hits and never got a chance to do anything else, and then they just stopped coming. So I think it's a really good addition, like the way that works.
So that basically sets up the game. So 4 teams are playing, 1 team is refereeing. So we've only got 3 refs in the maze, but it's because we've only got 15 people in the tournament.
Refs overrated.
So within the game, you're basically competing for 10 points within the tournament, roughly. Half of those come from whether or not you win the game. Right. So straight out of the bat, as a team of 6, if you win the game, you basically get 5 points. There's a caveat to that, but I'll come to that in a sec. So it's basically 5 points if you win the game, no points if you don't win the game. If you go the extra mile and eliminate the other team, you get another 2 points on top of that. So 7 out of the 10 points are awarded based on whether or not, as a team of 6, you guys win and completely destroy the other team.
Sorry, just Duckman with the ultimate callback. 3 refs. # Oakley reffing. Brilliant.
The arena is slightly smaller than Oakley, though.
yeah. I think
it doesn't matter. All 3 of them are smaller than.
Fuck, that's funny.
Yeah, harking back. I was alive in '99 as well. Just to... I was only 10, but I was alive. So 7 out of the 10 points come from how you guys do as a group of 6, because that's where we want to put the emphasis, is on being able to work as a team of 6 and normal team 5 team. So the remaining 3 points out of the 10 come from how well you do as a group of 3. Now, for the attackers, for the commander and the 2 scouts, that's a really easy calculation, and all it is how many medic lives you take. So if you take all 20 lives, you get the full 3 points. And the calculation for that is basically, I think it's 0.15 points per life, which is literally just 3 divided by 20.
Right.
So if you take 10 medic lives,
Slam Man with the sub. Thank you, sir. Look at the lights. It's so cool.
Awesome.
Love it. I love it so much. Thank you, Slam Man. Appreciate it. Really do.
So if you take half the medic's lives, you get half the points. So you get 1.5 points. So it's a pretty straightforward.
It doesn't matter as to who takes it. So even if the heavy takes a medic life, it still counts towards the attacking team.
Yep, that's right. So it's just because that's your job as the commander of the 2 scouts, right? You want to kill that medic out. Basically, that's kind of your goal until he's dead, and then you want to eliminate the team. So what has changed most drastically since I first published the format is how the resupply team got scored. And this is also what prompted the schedule to be changed as well, because previously what I'd done, in the interests of trying to keep it, I call it digestible, so people can understand it, it was kind of the reverse calculation of the attacking team, right? It was 0.15 points for every medic life remaining.
Yeah.
With the idea being that as a resupply, you want to defend your medic. But I went and looked at, because we had a really good members night last week. We had 15, 16 people there, and we got through a good number of games. And I'm like, let me see what the average number of medic lives remaining at the end of each game was. The answer was 0.91. So, I'm like, cool. So teams are looking to score about 0.13 points on average. And that's just a wire out. That doesn't account for the fact that Botany and Game Over are probably going to give us a lot more elims because they're faster mazes and smaller. So I'm like, well, this isn't working, right? Because everyone looked at it and went, my offensive games are where I score all my points. The defensive games are kind of just recovery, if you will. So I'm like, well, let's reevaluate that and let's fix it. So Steve would call it complicated. I call it relatively simple.
That's because when I see numbers, my eyes glaze a little bit.
Yeah. So you basically ask yourself 2 questions when you come out of the maze, when you're the resupply team. Is your medic alive, and is the enemy medic alive? So if your medic is alive, straight away you get half the points. So 1.5 out of your 3 points are awarded straight away if you make sure that your medic survives. Cool, done, easy. Is the enemy medic alive? If they are, does your medic have more lives than them? Have you done a better job of defending your medic than the other team? If they have, cool, you get another half a point. So 2 points if your medic survives and you has more lives than the enemy medic. If you've killed the enemy medic, so if your medic survives and their medic dies, you get the full 3 straight away.
Dope.
The flip side of that, if your medic is dead and the enemy medic is alive, you get a big fat 0. Because clearly the other resupply team did a better job.
Right.
So those are kind of the 3, I call them the less common scenarios, because as we know, most SM5 games end with medics dead, even if they don't end in Elam. So if we reach the most common scenario, which is both medics die at the end of the game, the 3 points still get awarded, but they get split. So whichever heavy scores the most points gets a point. Whichever ammo scores the most points gets a point, and same with the medic. So when both medics are dead, we look at the actual score on the scoreboard, and we go, which heavy ammo medic scored the highest, we'll give a point to each team. So 2 points may go to one team, 1 goes to the other, or it might be 3-0, or it'll just depend on how well people play. And so that also promotes the heavies to go out and do a lot of attacking. So, because I think the last time I jumped on the pod, the time before last when I jumped on the pod with you, Steve, you're like, I feel like it.
Holy shit. So many. We'll watch these lights go off for ages because Slam Man just gifted like 6 subs. That's awesome. Thank you so much. 5 subs. Oh, they're not going to go again? That's disappointing. Up to. Come on, lights. Do your job. I might have to do that manually. Hang on. You son of a bitch, lights. Hang on. Sub. Sorry about that. Boo refund.
Yeah, 5 subs. Hey, man, celebrate that.
I got you, Slam Man. I got you. I'm gonna give you another one too once we go through this whole list. He deserves more lights. He deserves me going to his house and putting lights in his living room. That's what he deserves. That's very generous of you, Slam Man. You're a scholar and a gentleman, as always. Is there any more? Was that the last one? We're gonna do one more lights. Sorry. That's just creepy. It sure is, Ducky. It sure is.
Now, has Dibby managed to keep his train of thought here?
Yeah.
He's like, oh, those lights, so shiny. No, that's me.
Yeah, so when I jumped on the pod, I think the time before last, the concern was you're basically telling the heavy, don't go out and attack. You're saying all the heavy is allowed to do is defend the resup. And this is kind of throwing the ball a little bit back in the heavy's court and saying, hey, go and get some attack, because inevitably we know, like, of our top 5 players who are the effective captains of each team, they're going to drop on average 3.5, 4 nukes per game, because that's just what the stats work out to be, right? And that's 12 to 15 medic lives pretty much guaranteed, right? So we're expecting medics to die at every game. So this is now basically saying, hey, heavies, if you want to score that extra point for your team, you also need to outscore the enemy heavy in addition to trying to protect.
Thanks, Nate. Thank you for the bits. Look, it's red now. It's so magical. Sorry, Greg.
Solve the problem of with medic hits counting towards the attacking team. It disincentivizes the heavy to actually hit the medic, because that's scoring for the other 3. But if they get a whole point by outscoring the enemy heavy, I think that balances that well.
Absolutely.
Yeah.
Like a cat.
So the other thing it kind of does now is, like, I don't consider any of the 5 teams to be bad, but if you're running a really strong heavy ammo medic lineup and you're paired with, say, a commander scout team, and maybe they're having their game where they've got to put their lowest rated player as the commander, so you're kind of a bit questionable about how this game's going to work out.
Yeah.
even if you still lose the game, those 3 points would still be up for you if you have a really strong resupply team. Like if your medic does really well and gets a good couple of hits in, if you play a bit of Scott-style batter ammo towards the end of the game, if the heavy goes out for a couple of attacking runs, there's still 3 out of the 10 points available on the board, even if you lose the game. So it's kind of like all is not lost, essentially. And so the last thing, just to dump more numbers on top of everyone, was the caveat for, I said the 5 points are awarded for winning the game. That would assume that the salaries of the 2 combined teams are no more than 25,000. I think we call them Zap coins apart, because I call them dollars and everyone lost their minds over dollars.
I mean, can I fire up my computers and mine some?
Yeah.
Now and then?
Look, I've actually been doing a little bit of research into how I can start my own crypto for the resupply. So, buy in now, kids. I'm sure we're going to the moon.
So there's basically a table that says what's the difference between the winning team and the losing team's salaries. This is how many points you get. Right. So, when hang on, where are you on stream? I think you're up there. Yeah. So no, that way. My camera's reversed. I'll wait for it to type that into. Yeah. When that guy's team, say the resupply against Scott's team on attacking roll, which to me is scary as hell. Then when they go up against, say, the 2 lowest ranked teams, if they win, I think it's only worth 3 instead of 5 points.
Right.
But if by some cosmic anomaly the 2 bottom teams, mine included, manage to win that game, we get 7 as a result. So It's kind of like it's the same amount of points plus or minus to the 5, depending on whether the team who is expected to win wins.
Yeah, what is this? Some sort of socialist point system? Redistribution of points?
Yeah.
Damn it.
It basically helped to balance out the fact that, like, not all the teams, only one team reached the salary cap. And the rest of us had to make do with what was left. But that was cool.
Damn red team bastards. Yeah, right. It like I do like the parody. Like it's kind of it is absolutely a unique way to kind of approach a point system. Because like a salary is kind of supposed to do that anyway, but that only really works if everyone is kind of at at a comparable skill level. And we do have we do have kind of tiers. It's just kind of how it is. Like some people haven't been playing as long, some people get older, some people put weight on and like aren't as quick. Some people too worried about being famous. Years. Yeah. Some people have aged horribly. No. I was talking about Greg.
Your salary is now 2.15.
Yeah. Enjoy playing with one person less every game. Yeah.
All 3 suits at once, man.
Yeah. Good luck, motherfucker.
Got to work on your toe dexterity.
Yeah. I mean, at least that way I can justify the increase in mass. I had to get bigger so I could wear all 3 suits. So part of the I wouldn't say like scandal, but part of like the issue that some teams were struggling with was the site multiplier, which I like because I went through. I was interested once it got brought up as an issue, and basically for anyone that didn't know, we had an interesting mechanic where each team got to choose one of the 3 sites we're playing at, and that site would then get a force multiplier, which was what 1.5 or
1.5 times, yeah.
So any points you earned at that site, you then would times by 1.5, which I thought was a really cool thing. But it was brought up that hey, the likelihood is that the attacking teams are going to score more points or at least on the old way, score more points. And the other two sites, Game Over and Paradise, are smaller arenas. They're less known to the player base, and therefore it's more likely that, you know, the resupplies are going to struggle even more, and then elims are going to come. And so if you're an attacking team with the majority of your games at one of those sites, you will have an advantage over anyone that doesn't. So I wanted to go through and check what the actual breakdown in those games were. And, you know, we saw that there was a discrepancy in the amount of games, a significant discrepancy for one team in particular. But I think it was probably worth addressing, because my team had 12 attacking games at Paradise, and I have the only regular player at the Paradise Arena. So, you know, that put my team with that as a site multiplier at a way more of an advantage than most other sites. And so with my team being at the top of that spectrum, and King, Stallion, and Matt? Is Matt your third?
DK.
Oh, DK. Yeah.
Yeah.
With the three of you being at the other end of that spectrum, at YRL, it kind of did.
Because I'm looking at my notes. Yeah, we only had in the original schedule, we had 5 attacking games at Paradise, 7 at Game Over, and 12 at YRL.
Yeah. And so, like, if you had like 9 at Game Over, I don't think it would have been such an issue, because, you know, comparably that's about the same as everyone else kind of got at one of those two sites. But it just worked out that, you know, you guys had to play in probably the biggest arena, the one that's most known to everyone, you know, harder to get elims, yada yada yada. Yeah. And so we voted this week to kind of do away with the site multiplier. However, Greg, you've run some obviously new numbers with the scheduling, and have basically evened that up, right? From what I can understand.
Yeah, so the original schedule, which was probably unbeknownst to most people, was built on an algorithm, and your earlier comments about let's invite 30 people to the next time we do it and play over. Yeah, he's like, let's bring people, and he's like, no, you organize.
What was that? What was that, Alex?
Remind us what you do for a day job.
I'm a software. I make programs that do this stuff for me, but it still takes a while to build the program.
So people like me who are like, oh my god, I love, like, let's just get more people in here. I love people, and you're like, fuck people. Stay away.
Yeah, can we play Laser Force remotely? Like, we just need like AI controlled avatars that we can have with like VR.
I'll tell you what, it's something that's in the works.
But yeah, so the original one was built. So I obviously published everyone's salary, but all the players actually have a different score that I haven't released to people, because it's kind of irrelevant in terms of picking players, and it's more relevant to your strengths as a player for this format of tournament. So, like, Steve, it's hard to argue that you're not the most experienced player and one of the top players here in Auckland. But if you look at some of the other teams, there's a lot of people who haven't played at other sites, and especially haven't played at international tournaments.
Yeah.
And for me, playing at an international tournament is kind of a demonstration that you can play that high-level competitive SM5 in an arena that's not your home.
Right.
And Sulaco, which is Stallion's team, is King and DK, who have...
Sulaco.
Okay. Yeah. Should I admit I haven't seen the Aliens films in like 15 years? Yeah, it has both King and DK, who have both played at Nats fairly recently.
Yeah.
Albeit on their deathbed, because wasn't it like... Wasn't it DK who passed out on a stretcher?
He was basically patient zero, DK was. And King got some weird Mexican flu. Before Nat, so hashtag Kiwi hates.
Whereas, like, I mean, your team's pretty good, Steve, because you've obviously played a million Nats, and Sneak played, I think, most recently at Brisbane in 2018, 19?
18.
18.
Yeah.
Whereas a lot of the other teams don't have any. Like my team has 0 Nats experience. Triple Tap has 0. No, Nate's played Nats, so they've got some Nats experience. But basically, Stallion's team came out with the highest overall rating, which is the reason why you guys had your majority of attacking games at Laser Force Auckland, was to keep all of that balanced out, basically. And people obviously raised a very genuine concern that you score more points when you play attack than when you play resupply, so therefore it makes natural sense to pick the site where you have the most attacking games. And the fact that they ended up with the site that's least likely to lead to elims, I heard that and it made sense. So I've redone the entire schedule, and now the priority, there's 2 main priorities. The first is have 8 attack and 8 resupply games at each site each day, and try not to have too many back-to-back games, and when they are back-to-back, try not to be attacking games. So you'll see on the schedule a couple of teams will play like green resupply twice in a row. What I've tried to avoid as much as possible is like red attack.
Which is what we had on day 1, right? We had like attack, ref, attack, resupply.
Ref.
Yeah.
I think he had like 8 attacking games in a row, broken by one 15-minute reffing.
I mean, like, younger Steve would have been licking his chops. I mean, to be fair, older, bigger Steve is also licking his chops, but that's when you think about hamburgers or something. But yeah, like, yeah, I think it looks better now. Yeah.
Yeah, I'm happy with the way it is. I think there's a little bit of imbalance, but we'll see how the scores turn out at the end of day 3. The other thing I wanted to do, just to touch briefly on the site multiplier, was introduce a little bit of the element of unpredictability to the winners. And you know, people have touched on the fact that this is sometimes part of sports. Like cricket used to have the power plays. I think netball has power plays. I understand. I haven't watched a competitive game of netball in like 20 years, so I wouldn't know. But like I've been to a couple of quiz nights, and like they have that format where they have 10 rounds, and you basically pick 2 where you score double points.
Right.
Yeah.
And like the teams who pick rounds 1 and 2 naturally come out in this massive points lead, but of course slowly get caught up as other people have them. So what I kind of wanted was perhaps, you know, the teams that pick botany as their multiplier would naturally be at the top of the scoreboard at day 1, not necessarily at the top of the scoreboard by the end of the tournament. And just kind of that little bit of a boost to yourself to see that you are kind of ahead, even though you naturally know that when, you know, the day 2 and 3 multipliers come through, it will all even up. But it would be a bit like, you know, not naturally seeing Brisbane at the top of the Nats scoreboard at the end of day 1 would kind of be a bit of a...
Yeah, I mean, they're at second, but we've already started block 2 and they're on a bye or something. Yeah, I like it, and with it being evened up, it does open up the possibility of adding that mechanic back in. I was saying to Stallion like earlier today, like you know, it's if people aren't keen to implement it, which I would be keen now that it's you know, even or whatever, I'd be keen to see it happen again, because I really like the mechanic, and because really this is a fun tournament. We can do whatever we want, we can try things, and I think trying things is a good way to see what is and isn't possible. I mean, that's the whole, you know, 0 point penalties came out of that. So I'd be keen to see it implemented again, but what we could potentially do is run it parallel. And just see, okay, how much would the outcome have changed if we had implemented it? Yeah.
Good idea.
And maybe we have 2 win. No, we're not gonna have 2 winners. You have 1 winner, motherfuckers. Again, Cotton Wool Society wanted multiple winners. Bullshit. Not everyone's a winner.
Participation trophies, yeah.
Like I have my fair share of participation awards from Laser Force tournaments in the past. So, congratulations, 8th place.
You're supposed to call that the Night Owl Award, remember?
Massive asterisks in chat from King. Yeah, I mean, but like it would be interesting to see see the different outcomes of, okay, if we had it running, what would the score have been?
Yeah.
We just have to figure out a way. We have to maybe do one more vote as a community about, and see whether or not we want to have it, and we'll still track both outcomes.
Yeah.
Here's the medal for coming last. Congrats. I love that. You just hide those ones at the back of the trophy case, so it bulks up it bulks up what's in there, but all the substance is at the front. That's basically how I live my life. Also, have you? I mean, I'll ask the question. From a way that it works. Does anybody in chat that is actually playing this tournament, or anyone really, have any questions about how that stuff is going to run? Because, I mean, I'm sure I'll get asked questions, or we'll get asked questions on Tuesday. We're going to do a rules walkthrough on Tuesday for everyone, because it's always good to have a rules refresher, but especially for those that aren't used to playing with how the rules go, or who haven't played for almost a decade. It's good to have those refreshers. The other thing I was going to do was drop you guys in it. Do you guys want to make some predictions about outcomes? The silence is deafening.
Yeah. Your team is going to be interesting. I've got a firm eye on your team. Obviously, you guys have got the highest salary.
Yeah.
All the teams. I do, however, have a very keen eye on tall guys, and that's Morange, Know-It-All, Ben, and Red Odin. Rowan, who's actually one of the site owners for Auckland. And the reason I've got my eyes quite closely on tall guys is because Rowan was a bit of a wild card coming in. His salary came in at second to bottom, so he's definitely in the kind of third tier of players. But watching him play, was it 2 weeks ago on Members Night?
Yeah,
he's a lot stronger at the game than I remember him. So I think Morange has picked up some really good value for money through him.
He's good like that.
I made the comment on Tuesday night. I'm really disappointed that one of our new players, Zella, who's a friend of DK's, isn't playing, because I reevaluated his salary based on the last 2 weeks, and he almost doubled.
Crazy.
That kid is just coming along in leaps and bounds.
How many he's played? What did he say? 8 Members Nights?
Yeah, something like that.
Yeah,
and there was some sort of stat site where I could look up how many games.
Know-It-All's proven himself to be a strong underdog. I mean, a lot of the guy, the last couple of weeks, Know-It-All, his play has jumped up quite a bit, in my opinion. Some of the stuff that he's been doing in the maze has been awesome. Zella's I hope that Zella sticks around, and I think he will, provided that DK does. But he's improved so much. I've regressed.
He's played 65 games that we have stats for, averaging 5 or 6 games a night. That's probably no more than a couple of weeks. So he's probably cut 10 or so times.
Yeah. That team, the tall guys is probably my favorite pick. Depending on how you go, Stallion, the Sulaco team, that one's got some talent as well. Yeah. Because
obviously not playing that.
I say we take off.
I don't know where I'm sitting either, right?
Yeah.
I've worked on my fitness these last 3 or so weeks.
Go do them penis runs.
Blow some noobs away tonight, and I don't know, I wild card, dark horse, pick your cliche. I mean, it could go either way. Of course, I don't know the 2 people I'm playing with.
Yeah.
So,
well, King's in chat. Hey, King, what up, dog?
Yeah. I mean, no offense to anyone, but there's the personalities need to work as well.
Yeah.
I mean, and remembering the history that we were talking about an hour ago, It's not unknown that I clash with people.
Right.
But, I think I've grown since then, hopefully. Yeah. I mean, look, I'm coming up to have fun. I'm walking in with no expectations, but I'll give it my best, and, we'll see. So I'm not going to have a good time.
I foresee, clearly haven't seen Brisbane play in the last few years. I'm looking forward to seeing how you go, actually, because what I think is going to happen is you'll have a couple of games and click back into competitive Space Marines mode. That's what I think is going to happen. And
there's a chance.
Yeah. And if it happens, I think that they've picked up a lot of value with you. Especially, I mean, like you said, Greg, like that team in terms of experience, or like Nat's experience, like DK, I think DK has been playing off and on members nights for longer than I have, or at least, like I remember I turned up to my first members night in 2003, and I think he was playing at the time. So King's obviously played a bunch of Nats as well and is very good since he was 12. Yeah, exactly right. And obviously you've been playing since the 90s, so, well, off and on.
With a break.
With a break. Just a little break. Come to Detroit. I mean, I don't think anyone's country is allowing that to happen, Stu.
Sorry, I'd love to go to the States, but the current situation in multiple ways means...
You were saying about, like, when we were talking before, you were saying about how, like, the new Wellington maze has a couple of, like, dead spots.
Yeah, so the maze that I played mostly in at Wellington is no more.
Yeah.
And they moved to a new maze only maybe 2, maybe 3 years after I stopped playing, and it just... Well, the first time I went there, I'm like, you guys didn't really have anyone who's played competitive Laser Force vet your maze layout at all, did you? Because there's probably a good 30-35% of that maze where at the level that we're playing at, no one would ever go.
Yeah.
Because there's like a upper section here with like all walls and stuff, and then there's a lower section here. And you can effectively, and like the base is in a corner and it's got walls, so you can't see it. But once you exit the corner where the base is, there's like 3 sides, or effectively on 4 sides, you can shoot down into a lower maze section. And there's no way that anyone would go there unless you were effectively trying to stave off elimination badly.
Yeah.
Because... Yeah, so they've got much more floor space, but in a competitive Space Marines 5 game, there's about 30% of the floor space that would just never be used, except in desperation.
Yeah,
and it wouldn't work anyway.
Well, the reason why I wanted to bring it up, because Stu plays out of Detroit. We played there last year, and it's seemingly from my limited game experience in that arena, they have areas that are just like that. Upstairs will die, exactly right, Stu. There's like a massive section downstairs that I don't think you ever really saw anyone go into until the end of the game, where they were trying not to die out. And
I know what Heathen's saying in chat, and I do understand that, and I do agree.
Yeah.
My mild regret is that if I had stayed in the Wellington scene and if I had been closely involved, then maybe I could have influenced the design to say, look, if you just do this, it makes no difference to you, it makes no difference to the birthday parties, but it makes it a more viable maze for top level play. So I don't know. Like it's in the past, and they're not ripping out the maze and fixing it because I say so.
But you're right. Like if you're,
I mean, like I will say one thing though. The first time I went to Napier, have you guys played Napier at all?
When they when they first opened, I think we played within the year. We did a road trip. In fact, were you at that? I can't remember. There was a group that came up from Wellington, and we drove down from Auckland.
Maybe. Because, so anyway, to get to my point, so Napier is a two-tier maze, right? So you've got the downstairs section, and then you've got an upstairs section here. And you can shoot down into a sort of an open area, and you kind of don't want to be there. But the two ways to the upstairs are two ramps at the extreme side, and they come up, so they do a switchback. And the first time we played there, the side of the switchback that opened out to the entire rest of the arena was just like open, waist high.
Yeah.
So you turn the corner and you could see everything.
Yeah.
And I remember I gave them feedback. I'm like, this is just a shooting gallery.
Yeah.
What you need to do, in my opinion, is put walls that cover the upper portion, the switchback part of the ramp to lead to the upper section, so that you can actually viably come up the ramp and not just be dead at the top of the ramp. And they did it.
Yeah, that's awesome. The next
time I played there, like a couple of years later, they put it in. And so, having never played a Space Marines 5 game at Napier, I don't actually know how it played before or after. But whether it was my advice or whether it was somebody else's advice, they made the change that myself and other players at that time recommended. So it can happen.
We did like a road trip down there and met up with, like, I think Baden came up, Deadly came up.
Sounds like I might have been there, but I don't have a strong recollection.
Yeah, it must have been like maybe around 2005, 2000 something around then, 2006 maybe, I don't know. It wasn't long after. I can't remember when they opened, but it wasn't too long after they opened. Cheers, Heath. But we did a road trip. We played some Space Marines in the arena, and that whole shooting gallery style of being able to see everything downstairs, just you got wrecked down there, man. It was brutal.
Yeah, and like the two bases are down there, but one is vastly more exposed than the other. One of them is under the upper section. I think that's red.
Right.
And green is literally just, I can see everyone getting to green from the shooting gallery. So
it's such a shame they've closed. Like they shut down. They closed down like a month ago. Yeah.
Kidding me?
Yeah.
Oh no! I did not know that.
I think it was the last school holidays. Actually, they were like, at the end of the school holidays will be closed. It always breaks my heart when I see Laser Force in this club.
Because it's I mentioned my holiday before. Like I like 4 years in a row now. I've taken a whole crap load of kids and like a handful of adults and gone play lasers at our New Year's holiday.
Yeah.
But hearing it shut down, that sucks.
It's disappointing. I thought about hitting them up and be like, hey, do you have any like stuff you're gonna throw in the rubbish, like any signage and stuff that I can come down and scratch? Because I'm a bit of a hoarder.
Maybe someone could get one of these.
Oh my god, I'm so jealous. That's so awesome. What gym was that for?
I think it's for someone.
Ducky, you might be. Ducky or Than, you guys might be able to tell.
I can't remember for sure.
It looks like 4, but I could be wrong.
Back, it's just. I think it's 4, but I'm not certain.
So that's 3. Wow.
3. Okay.
That's so cool, man. I'm so jealous. I have a Gen 5 Gen 5 phaser lying around here somewhere that I painted gold, and we mounted on a board and made it a golden gun trophy, which will actually hopefully be making appearance after this tournament. Well, they had to fix it because I dropped it. We
not under a bus like Real Madrid did to a few years back here.
We fucking opened like beer bottles on it like the Crusaders did. What a bunch of dicks. We have a few awards that we're gonna dig out of storage that we'll present to the winners. We're gonna look to do an awards dinner on the Wednesday night.
In
In a park.
In a park, that's right, yeah.
In a park.
Although it's daylight saving now, so we'll be all right. I'll tell you about that later, Stallion. So we'll do something on the Wednesday. Tuesday night we'll see if people are keen. We'll look to run members night on the Tuesday. If we have most of the teams turn up, then we might get a jump start on the next day. Which actually will be interesting, because if we can get a jump on the next day, it might mean that we get to play more games there, which means that the not having the multiplier. That's the word. Thank you, sir. Not having the multiplier will be more beneficial. Yeah, but we'll cross that bridge. We're not going to Mission Bay, man. I'm fuck crossing the bridge. We're gonna stay local. Somewhere on the shore. Willie.
Far away.
What?
Mission Bay is way too far away.
Way too far. Takapuna at a push. At a push Devonport, and then I could just go home. Yeah. No. I mean, there's only 15 of us. We could do something here. We have space, and my garage is currently clean, so we could hang out down there. Was there anything else we needed to touch on for this tournament, or that's kind of it?
What's your prediction, Steve?
Looking at these teams, my money is going on Tall Guys. I'm gonna say Tall Guys are gonna take it purely because Morange has become a beast. He's dropped, a bunch of weight. He's got fast. He's quick. It makes me so glad, but also so sad. I hate when people get better than me. As you've seen, if you've ever watched an episode of Thunderdome Thursdays, I am such a sore loser. So yeah, I think I'm gonna say it. I think at the moment, Morange is the best Auckland player, and I think, I think based on the last 2 months, but I'm looking at you, Smalley. I think based on the last 2 months with the play, I think you ran some recent figures, right? And like he came out at top.
He came out top, yeah.
Yeah, and like you can feel that's kind of the case. He's just absolutely killing it at the moment. So I'm gonna choose Tall Guys as my horse to win it. Stallion, who you backing? Based on nothing.
I certainly don't know enough.
Back yourself then.
All right, sure.
Boom.
Sulaco. We'll drop some Marines on you.
Who did you say, Thanish? Sorry, Greg.
I was the Tall Guys. Yeah, I've got my eyes on Tall Guys. But like I said, because I think Rowan has proven himself to be worth more than he is.
Yeah.
Ben plays really strong. And like you just said, Morange has, easily become in our top two, if not our top player over the last couple of months. So
well, and when you pair him with any of the other teams, that team becomes really good instantly. So it's gonna be, obviously you play the tournament to determine it, but my money's on there, which means for the second tournament in a row, old mate guy next door doesn't see his name engraved on the trophy that he donated, which makes me very sad. It's not a trophy, it's a shield. The Gardner Brown shield. Shittest name for a trophy ever.
I think it was a growth moment. You need to work on that losing badly thing.
I think you're right. Well, my wife has basically said the same thing. I think that might do it. Unless you guys want to say any last words.
Well, we've never seen from again.
Yeah, Steve really was a bad loser. He invited everyone around to his house and just killed everything. No.
I think I understand the scoring system now. When I first looked at this latest update, I was like, are you trying to make it so complex that no one can actually understand it, and we just end up going, I guess we play Space Marines 5 and the point system will just sorted out.
Greg said his team won. I guess that's the case.
Must be true.
Why didn't we name it the Brown Gardner Shield? That brings up a whole other kettle of fish. It seemed in poor taste to do that. It's poor taste to put your own name on a trophy anyway, but you know, young Steve, full of himself. But yeah, thank you guys so much for being on this week. Like, I really appreciate you like saving my skin, because I don't know if I could have vamped for an hour and a half by myself. I mean, you know, I could have just sat here and talked with the chat, but I need people to like visually be like, what the fuck are you talking about? But yeah, really appreciate your expertise on the on and all the work that you've done on the tournament so far, Greg. It's been very much appreciated.
It's gonna be awesome.
Oh fucking! I can't wait, man.
I'm super looking forward to it. Yeah.
Are you're flying up, Stallion? Oh yes.
Yeah, flying in on the Sunday, and then I'll go back on the Friday. So I'm scoring myself an extra day in Auckland. So.
Perfect.
And this is the couch he's going to be sleeping on if his team has a higher score than mine.
Yeah. Oh, what's that? You got downgraded to the floor? Perfect.
The concrete in the garage looks comfortable enough.
Yeah. Thanks, Stallion, for coming on and sharing like your history with us. I mean, we talked. I'll probably cut us off a little short because we talked a bunch before we went live, and I was just we did. Let's save this for the pod. But thank you so much for coming on, and I look forward to hanging out with you when you come up.
Yeah, I look forward to it too. Yeah, thanks a lot.
Oh, I can't wait, man. It's so fucking awesome. But for this week, I have been Guy Next Door.
I've been finished.
Yeah, you've been Danish.
Yeah, I've been Stallion.
Boom, nailed it. Well done, boys. Always remember to backtrack, kids. We will see you next week. We'll see you on Tuesday, I think. That's when we'll see you. Take care. Have a great week.
I've been throwing daggers in the night. I've been chasing all the stars, stealing all their lights. The cut so sharp, cut so deep. If they seem to hit their target, it must be what we reap. 'Cause you don't know what I know. You don't feel the way I feel. All these places I wanna go makes me wonder if my looks could kill. I've been throwing daggers in my dreams. If they seem to hit their target, it's harder than it seems. But you don't know what I know. And you don't feel the way I feel. In all these places I wanna go makes me wonder if my looks could kill. I'm a well-known stranger, walking my own path. Gave up all my mysteries just to get a laugh. Sometimes I just have to wonder, do you know wrong from right?